Today we will talk about representative communities, Religious Society of Friends, and the Mennonite Church. Religious Communal Pacifism represents a distinctive approach to nonviolence that shifts the ethical focus away from isolated individual decision-making and toward the moral vocation of the community as a whole. In this tradition, pacifism is not primarily a matter of personal heroism, conscience alone, or exceptional moral resolve in moments of crisis. Instead, it is a sustained, communal way of life, one that asks not merely, "What should I do?" but what kind of people are we called to be together? At its core, religious communal pacifism holds that violence is not overcome by better arguments or superior strategies, but by the formation of communities whose shared practices make violence increasingly unthinkable. Ethics, therefore, is not episodic. It is habitual. It is learned over time through worship, discipline, and shared life. Pacifism is corporate testimony. Both Quakers and Mennonites understand pacifism as a corporate testimony, a public embodied witness to an alternative moral order. Their rejection of violence is not a private moral preference, but a visible sign of communal faithfulness. Refusing to bear arms, swear oaths, or participate in coercive state functions is not merely symbolic. It is an enacted declaration that loyalty to God's truth and peace takes precedence over allegiance to violent systems. For these communities, peace is inseparable from other core commitments, such as truthfulness, simplicity, equality, and mutual accountability. Violence is rejected not only because it harms others, but because it corrupts the integrity of the community itself, introducing domination, fear, and coercion into relationships meant to be governed by trust and care. Practices that sustain peace. Religious communal pacifism is sustained through concrete practices rather than abstract ideals. Consensus-based decision-making replaces hierarchical command, reinforcing patience, listening, and mutual responsibility. Processes of reconciliation and forgiveness are institutionalized, ensuring that conflict does not escalate into coercion or exclusion. Mutual aid and economic sharing reduce the insecurities that often fuel violence, while disciplined community life reinforces habits of restraint and care. Through these practices, peace becomes something learned and rehearsed, not merely affirmed. Members are shaped from an early age to see nonviolence not as extraordinary behavior, but as ordinary faithfulness. The community, rather than the individual, carries the ethical weight of this formation over argument. A defining feature of religious communal pacifism is its emphasis on formation over persuasion. These traditions do not rely primarily on philosophical proofs against violence or constant moral debate. Instead, they trust that sustained participation in nonviolent practices will form people who instinctively resist violence. Accountability within the community plays a crucial role here. Members are not left alone to navigate moral crises in isolation. They are supported, corrected, and guided by shared norms. The ethical question is not simply whether violence is justified in theory, but whether it is compatible with belonging to the community at all. In this sense, the community itself becomes the ethical agent. It embodies a moral vision that individuals enter into and are shaped by, rather than inventing anew. Political significance without political control. Religious communal pacifism does not aim to seize political power or directly control state policy. Its political significance lies elsewhere, in example rather than enforcement. By existing as stable, peaceable communities across generations, Quakers and Mennonites quietly but persistently challenge the assumption that violence is necessary for social order. Their witness exposes a fundamental question. If entire communities can live without relying on violence internally, why must societies assume that violence is unavoidable externally? In this way, religious communal pacifism offers a critique of political realism not through protest or revolution, but through endurance. Conclusion. Religious communal pacifism reframes the ethics of nonviolence as a collective vocation. It insists that peace is not achieved by isolated moral acts or institutional reform alone, but by communities willing to organize their entire lives around practices of reconciliation, restraint, and trust. By embodying peace rather than merely advocating it, Quakers and Mennonites demonstrate that nonviolence can be lived, sustained, and transmitted across generations. Their existence stands as a quiet but powerful challenge to the belief that violence is inevitable, and a reminder that ethical alternatives must be practiced, not merely imagined.